with businesses and churches starting to reopen slowly, even our CR meetings are going to pick back up next Friday night. I've had several conversations with people about things getting back to normal. When are things going to be back to normal? When are things going to be how they used to be? I think that's a very human response. A lot of times in our life, things come along and happen to us. We might go through a crisis or an unexpected death or a challenge in our life, and we adjust, we adapt, and we want to get things back to normal. In our minds, normal is comfortable. Normal is something we can understand and wrap our minds around. I think this whole pandemic has shown us that perhaps more than anything else in my lifetime, that things are not going to go back to normal. Things are going to go to a new normal. I think being in recovery has poised us to be better to handle that than anybody else. Being uncomfortable should be your normal. Let's look at principle 1 and principle 8. The first principle and the last principle of Celebrate Recovery. Principle 1 says, realize I'm not God. I admit that I'm powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing and that my life is unmanageable. In principle 1, we come to realize our life is in a pretty bad way. And then principle 8, when we're at the end of the journey, it says, yield myself to God to be used to bring this good news to others, both by my example and my words. That is a stark contrast. In the first step, we realize we are not God. In the last step, we are yielding to God. In the first principle, our lives are unmanageable. We don't have the control in our lives that we need. In the last principle, our lives are examples to the world. They're lights to the world. That's a stark difference between principle 1 and principle 8. And all those principles in the middle, between 1 and 8, there's a lot of discomfort. There's a lot of things that make us uncomfortable that we go through to get to principle 8. Change only comes when we're uncomfortable. Let's look at it this way. You go to a gym. The first time you go, it's uncomfortable. It's even painful. But you work at it. You work harder at it each time you go back, and you start to see changes. But no matter how many times you go back, you work harder, and it's always a little bit uncomfortable. But over time, as we start to see progress, and as we start working at it, that being uncomfortable, that being sore in our muscles and aching and the stiffness becomes part of our life. And that's how we make lasting progress. We become comfortable in the uncomfortableness of the gym. Your recovery, your life, your Christian walk is no different. We should be comfortable being uncomfortable because we are always being challenged by God, and God always has something more for us to make us more like His Son, Jesus Christ. When you say you want things to get back to normal, don't mistake that for things getting back to comfortable. We should be comfortable being uncomfortable. If not, we can drown in our own comfort. We can drown in our own pursuit of comfort. It's like going to the gym and then just sitting there watching everybody else work out. We come to church. We come to our small groups, our recovery meetings, our step study groups. But we don't put the discomfort in. We don't put the pain and the work in to actually make a lasting change. And we're just coming to the gym, watching everybody else work out. Deep down, we want to chase our own comfort. We want things to be back to normal, where we can understand them and we can even sit in our old ruts and not make any difference in our life and go back to the same old ways. I read something online today that said, recovery is hard, but not recovering is harder. Christ calls us to continually be moving forward, to continually embrace the uncomfortableness that will come with change. Ephesians chapter 4 gives us this instruction in verse 22. to take off your former way of life, the old self that is corrupted by deceitful desires. Take off those old hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And then the next verse, Paul says, be renewed in the spirit of your minds and to put on the new self, the one created according to God's likeness in righteousness and purity of the truth. Now, that second command there is in the present tense. So when we are putting on Christ, we are continually putting on Christ. It is a lifelong effort. It is an everyday effort. That's a battle we're going to fight day by day, moment by moment. And it's not always comfortable. In fact, many times it's not. But it produces what? It produces God's likeness and righteousness. You see, ultimately, we find peace in the new normal. If you're in recovery, if you are a Christian, your new normal is to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Putting on Christ on a daily basis is what leads to righteousness, and that's what's going to lead to peace. That's what's going to lead to serenity. Ultimately, that's going to be what leads to joy. David knew this. He said, how I long for your precepts. Give me life through your righteousness. Give me life through your righteousness. You want to live life abundantly to the fullest? Seek it through God's righteousness. As a Christian, embrace the uncomfortableness because that is what is going to bring you change. That is what is going to bring lasting change, godly holiness. When we seek our life through righteousness, we no longer put the focus on our own comfort. We're no longer drowning in our own comfort because we seek the good of others. We step out of our comfort zone and we reach out to others. We give back because God so freely gave to us. Romans 15 says that each one of us should please our neighbor for his good to build him up. For even Christ didn't please himself. So when are things going to get back to normal? Jesus promised us that there would be tribulation, there would be challenges for us while we are here on this earth. As Christians, we should know that more than the world knows that. And we should also be embracing the uncomfortableness that comes with change. Your new normal is that you should be comfortable being uncomfortable. God always has more to show you. God always has more ways to grow you. God always has more ways to give you life through his righteousness. Your focus questions for this week are: what do you define as normal for your life? Have you ever struggled to adjust to a new normal? And 2, how comfortable are you with being uncomfortable? What is something that God has called you to do or change that makes you uncomfortable? Thank you for joining us this week. I just want to let you know that this is the last week of our online open share groups because next Friday on June 26th, we are resuming our in-person meetings here at the church. I hope you will be able to join us for that and bring some friends as well. We're going to have large group and we're going to have open share group. It starts next Friday at 7 p.m. I hope to see you there. Have a great week. God bless.